on.
Welcome. Thank you for joining me today on Kingdom of Healing. This is Kimberly Mateo, and I'm a certified naturopath and master herbalist. I started my journey into natural healing in 1977. So for those of you seeking advice, hopefully it's my hope that 37 years experience will help you or a loved one overcome your health challenges. Last show, I was going through the 16 cancer-causing foods and ended on number 9. So I just kind of want to review just quickly what those first 9 were that I talked about on the last show. So number 1 of the cancer-causing foods, number 1, first place, is microwave popcorn. Number 2 is non-organic produce, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, canned produce. And that a lot has to do with the lining inside the cans because it releases BPAs into the food. 4 was processed meats, because of a lot of nitrates and nitrites. Farm-raised salmon and other fish. Your fish should always be wild-caught. Don't buy anything that is farm-raised. 60% of the salmon that's farm-raised, they're fed foods that are GMOs, and they're full of chemicals, antibiotics, and pesticides. The other thing here is potato chips, and just the high temperature of frying to create the crispiness. It creates a lot of destruction to that particular food. Then 7 was hydrogenated oils. 8, nitrates and nitrites. They're in a lot of smoked foods and pickled foods, so you really need to read your labels on that. 9, of course, was white flour, and it's stripped of all of its nutrients. It doesn't have its B complex anymore once it's processed. It is literally pretty much a dead food. The other thing is the gluten in the wheat nowadays is it's not like it was originally intended to be. So that is what is creating a lot of the problems with the people who are gluten intolerant. So we're going to talk about number 10 is GMO, and I'm going to finish up 10 through 16. And then I want to talk about some of these ballot issues this November that you're going to be voting on. And they have to do with GMO labeling. So there's a lot of things that I want to share with you concerning that to help you out on that decision of actually casting the right vote and not the vote because of all of the double talk, and we'll talk more about that. So number 10 in the 16 highest carcinogenic foods in our diet is the GMOs. And there's a lot of talk saying that, nothing has been proved in any scientific studies that GMO-altered foods are dangerous. But, there have been a lot of studies. And the most recent study was one in Scotland that documented the health of all of the GMO potatoes. And all of the test rats, they showed damage to the immune system. They had precancerous cell growths, atrophying brains and livers, and this was all documented in the first 2 days of the project. The FDA currently has no testing procedures for GMO foods. There's none at all. GMO foods transfers to the DNA in the bacteria in our digestive systems. So we're guinea pigs in the U.S., almost all were fed grains, soybeans, wheat, corn, barley, and GMO. And, the test studies of all of the animals that are involved in these studies are showing very quickly a deterioration of their health. And we're also guinea pigs in what's going on with all of this in the foods. And we will, talk about the issues of, the reason for the ballot issues. But a lot of the misinformation powered by money is behind, trying to keep everybody really confused. So, GMO foods, it's proving that there is an altering of the DNA. And, we alter the DNA and things start mutating and diseases develop. And we also, in childbearing age, we pass, if cells start to mutate and change in our body, our DNA, we pass that on to our child, to the
yes,
unborn.
we do.
And so the consequences of that, we already know what the consequences were with Agent Orange.
Right.
And with the GMO foods, now the blue coating
of the corn seeds,
yes.
or actually a lot of the seeds anymore.
Right. That blue coating is chemicals. And, just to remind you that it was just back in August. It was back in August when, or was it June, when the USDA approved gave Monsanto the okay to add the 2,4-D, which is the 50% component of the makeup of Agent Orange,
right,
into the equation with the Roundup.
And supposedly want us to believe that it's safe for us.
Yeah, so that is one big fat lie. But but when I start sharing with you some of the money that has been fed into this campaign, it's staggering.
Well, there's quite a few commercials out there right now that, if you listen to them at face value, you go, oh yeah, you're right, I know, but
but if you know different,
but you really got to understand what they're saying.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
That's the important part. That's two different meanings.
Yeah, very much so.
What you hear and what they're actually saying.
It's election time. But come on, you really got to kind of read between the lines because there's a lot of malarkey out there.
Yes, it is.
To be really nice about it. Number 11, of course, is refined sugar. And I've talked about this before. A friend of mine used to work he was a machinist at a sugar beet factory. And, he worked on the equipment. And the sugar beets were processed at 2,500 degrees in order for them to make white powdery sugar. And you think about that, and there's absolutely no nutrition. It's a completely total dead food. Sugar cane has nutrient. Beets, of course, beets are fabulous.
But, a lot of them are turning out to be GMO as well.
Now also.
So
yes.
you got to be very careful. Now,
the food chain.
May I say something? I've been waiting 2 weeks to make this comment to you because the last show that you were on, I made this comment and I had a point to my comment, but I kind of stopped it in the middle and I didn't finish my doggone point, and then so I felt stupid for these past 2 weeks and I couldn't wait to get I couldn't wait to get on there to finish my point. But you're talking about the sugars, and I told you that I had switched over from the white sugar to the pure cane sugar, and I remember one of the shows that you were talking about that all the living things have an aura around it,
right.
Okay, and you can just tell under that microscope. Well, the one thing that I love about that the pure cane sugar is that you can tell that it's so much cleaner, so much clearer, and you can tell that if you were to just put it underneath that microscope, it would have that aura to it, because I just love how it tastes, man.
Well, there's nutrients still that are present in that. And that is what, it gives off the energy. And everything does have an energy field. And that energy field is called an aura. And everything has it. Even a rock has it. That's where your crystals and things like that. There's energy with stones as well. So, yeah. So, no, that's very true. And the white sugar, what's important to remember is it feeds yeast. It feeds candida.
Oh, yeah,
that
was
cancer cells.
That was another thing that I had said, that the cane sugar kind of floats in the coffee and on my cereal, right? Which I kind of like, because you can tell that the white sugar dead just drops to the bottom and floats, lays there.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
It's a huge difference, man. I tell you, I've been impressed ever since I've changed over. So.
Very good, and it's you've got to change over things just a little bit at a time. If you get too crazy, if you start throwing it all out, I think I had shared before where my old man come home and he was like, "What are you doing?" The living room was filled with boxes. The dogs were at the back door. We'd bought a side of beef, and I was feeding all this meat to the dogs. And he was like, "Oh, jeez," And then my mom said, of course, her secretary would take all that food. I couldn't give it to the secretary. I knew the secretary. I wasn't going to send him home with food I was throwing away because it wasn't any good for my family. But I wanted to send it home.
I am not going to be responsible.
It's like, geez, no. It's garbage. So, the next thing, number 12, is the artificial sweeteners. And there's a lot of information now, There's some people with high consumption of the artificial sweeteners, the NutraSweet, the Splenda, what's the other one? There's another one that they have out there. But they contribute. They actually contribute to weight gain. They they cause cataracts. They cause paralysis in the gastrointestinal tract as well as in limbs. I mean, people have had their legs not able to use them. Severe migraine headaches where you lose your vision. I mean, this is stuff from taken in. Splenda, NutraSweet. These artificial. They're they break down as formaldehyde in the liver, and just along with lead, mercury. Formaldehyde is that's a poison, and that makes me think of years ago. I had found out that morticians use less embalming fluid with people than they used to decades ago, because we are pretty much embalmed by the time we die.
Really? Now,
as far as with, formaldehyde and all these other chemicals.
Hey, Richard, if you're listening, call me back and let me know if that's true, man. Nancy's brother is a mortician, so if you're listening, I would love to know if that's true or not.
Yeah, you need to. She needs to ask him about it. Yeah, and because he's, some access to, what they used to do. So. But it's a food that brings enough people into emergency rooms with very serious symptoms of side effects from taking in the artificial sweeteners. They're excitotoxins. I've talked about excitotoxins before. An excitotoxin is a poison that irritates the cell so much to the point that the cell dies. That's an excitotoxin. So it has that effect in the central nervous system. It's an excitotoxin. So you don't want to be